Hey Bells, how's it going? Hey Bells, how's it going? Let's get some coding in. Sorry, homework was killing me today. Trying to help the kids after school, and I'm not very good at it at all. Oh, I'm pretty terrible at it. Junior high math is no joke, and I am not good at it for sure. But some longer cases. I'm still trying to get new updated questions out of AAPC. I bought all of 2022's exams, A, C, D, and E, and F, but they're all the same questions that were there since 2019. There's very few new updated ones since then, really, but I keep buying them every year, hoping they'll update. We got 11 on so far. Very good, very good. Anybody have questions about what I've got going on Etsy? I know there was, I have produced 2 documents, one for CPT 2021 and one for your ICD10 2021, so that you can turn both these books into 2022 compliant books. I changed the names of them right before this live so that they look at least different. They're going to say 2021 versus 2022. They'll start out with CPT 2022 versus 2021, and then it'll start out ICD 2022 versus 2021. That way you don't have to buy the new books if you're taking your exam. Anytime during the 2022 year, you can use your 2021 books. There are a few updates and changes, but nothing major, nothing like catastrophic like we had last year. Last year, it would have been impossible to make the 2021 book into a 2021 book, if that makes any sense. But this year is not too bad. The first thing we need to change, and I do have a document on Etsy, is just go into our nurse's notes code, our 99211. And the first thing we'll need to do is go and put one line through that very last sentence on the nurse's note, 99211 for 2022. They do not include that last sentence right there that starts out, usually the presenting problems are minimal. I don't recommend just scratching it all out. Leave it to where you can see it just in case the exam doesn't change for some reason and they just cut out the questions. But draw one line through it just like you would normally in any medical documentation. You could still see what was underneath there, but that's one thing that is different. And then, so if you don't want to update your 2022 book, you can still use it for your entire 2022 year. I just really recommend adding the new codes in it, deleting the old codes, and revising any codes that need any word updating. I've created a document for you, and it's on Etsy, just in case you need it. The other one that is updated, I think it's 317. 99317. Maybe. Is it 217? No. Can't be 217, is it? There isn't no such thing, is there? Yeah, there is, but that's not it. Where is it? Just trying to remember off the top of my head, since I don't have the document in front of me, but I know it's one of these right here. It's a 91 code, of course. It's on page 63 of your 2021 book. So the code 99491 now has a child code. It's 99437. It's not going to go anywhere numerically along with the 91, but that's okay. It's going to be an add-on code numerically along with the 91, but that's okay. It's going to be an add-on code, so it's going to have a plus in front of it, which means you can do times with it, and it just adds 30 minutes to this parent code, and that's all. So on page 63, I would add that new code, the 99437, thank you for the hearts, and then just put the plus symbol in front. That new code, the 99437, thank you for the hearts, and then just put the plus symbol in front of it, write each, and it means 30 minutes. That's it of the E&M section, except for we have a brand new section in it, and it's pretty big, but if you still have this space available on 69, that's where I would write it, and you've got 4 new codes for a new header that are, I forget what it's called. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Well, let's see. Right there is what I changed it to. So it is called Principal Care Management Services. So if you still have that space available on page 69, it's called Principal Care Management. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, only 4 new codes. Principal Care Management, and there's 4 codes. I think it's 2 parents and 2 childs. They'll go there. You got plenty of room. You can write out the codes and then write out that description and put it there. It will, in the 2022 book, it goes in between the complex chronic care management and the psych management, but I don't think that space is really enough to write it in, and if you needed to, it's only 2 pages over to write it here, but since it's its own new header, you could really write it wherever you wanted, as long as you kept it here. If you didn't fill up all this page, you've got all that page, or you've got this one, but those 4 codes will go there. That's a general idea of what I did for each section of that little document that I did. It'll tell you what page it should go on, and then tell you what to delete if anything got deleted, and then if anything updated and you have new codes, it'll tell you what page to put them on with the code descriptors and the code numbers, of course. I'll also have included on that document all the parenthetical notes that go with it. You may not be able to get all that in there because some of them have a lot of do nots, but It's okay. As long as we have the code in the description, I think we'll be okay. There's not any major hoodoo and a lot of updates that are majorly crazy that are so overwhelming or so like updating the whole section like we did last year. But that document is just like $30 and that'll save you from having to buy a whole new book for sure. I did it on the ICD10 book too, where it gives you a list of the 2 new guidelines that were updated. The COVID updated one. There's just 2 little sections in the COVID ICD-10 guidelines that updated. It gives you the multi-system guideline for the people that have the multi-system COVID shutdown thing, and one other paragraph. And then it gives you the new guidelines for that were added at the end that are the situational issues that we now need to code and how to code them. So if you have food insecurities or homelessness, there's a way to code those and if where they go in the line of first or second diagnosis and stuff. So I've got those 2 paragraphs. I have some examples of how to code all the COVID different situations. I put in there too just to show you how to code all the little COVID situations. If it's post-COVID, long haulers, whatever, I've got it listed there in like 8 examples for you for that. The situational stuff is self-explanatory. It's not hard. And then I go through every ICD-10 code, tell you which one to delete, which ones to add, and then which one's revised, what the old revision was, what the new revision looks like. So it's super easy. There's not like a million things to do in either of the books. It's a really easy year to do this. If you were ever going to pick a year to not update your books and you just wanted to save your money and write the additions into your 2 books, it's a great year to do it because I don't think there's ever going to be another easier day. I think COVID kept them busy writing new codes, and they didn't get to update a lot of things that they could have or wanted to, or even gave them any extra time to do anything else. So the books aren't that bad at all, I think. Let me check chat and see how's it going, since I'm just rattling on about things I made this week. Let's see. Good news about the test. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm hoping somebody in our group will be one of the first ones to take it. Is it this Saturday? They could. If anybody signed up for taking it this Saturday, let me know. But that will be the first day that they give out the new exams if everything goes correctly. They absolutely should have them published today because they're going to have to go in the mail to get to all to these, independent satellite sites, right? So they're published and they're getting put in the mail. I'm curious as to what they might look like on Saturday. That'll be our first hints. What should I expect when graduating billing and coding school? That absolutely nothing that you learned except for names and definitions like HCPCS, ICD10, CPT, is anything like school. When you walk into the building, it'll all be done differently. That's what you should expect. But that's like with anything. I mean, if you go to dental school and you go through all this education, you walk into a clinic to do externship, that clinic is going to be doing everything the total opposite or completely different than what you were taught in school. Maybe some of the fundamentals are the same, like you can still check a patient's blood pressure the same way, but there's not going to be a whole lot. It's going to be, you're going to be learning everything new again. That's okay. Pretty much every doctor's office codes differently based off contracts with their providers, so Every provider has their own contract. Every hospital that they contract their patients to go see has a different contract. Every health plan, every group plan, everybody has different contracts, and you'll code and bill off of those instead of guidelines and other things. Yeah, that'll come up, but not as much as what you've been doing in school. It's all going to be different. So you can expect everything to be different. You're going into externship. Yep. Just be friendly, listen. Do not get caught up in gossip. And if they ask you to make your comments or opinions on anything, don't. And don't share any info online at all about where you're externing or what you might see or what goes on there while you're externing. That's my best advice right there. Learn, observe, know that nothing's going to be the same at all. And even between staff members, one staff member may do it one way and another staff member may be training you another way. You don't need to tell that. I mean, it's not like, well, so-and-so does it this way. Well, that ain't going to do you any good. You just listen to what they have to say and do it the way that that person is telling you to do it. And, just listen and observe and think outside the box. And troubleshooting is a really lost art. Google is your best friend. You can Google anything. You can also look inside your EHRs. And when you do a patient search and bring up their name and date of birth and then click into their charts, you can also see how they were claimed. Their claims have been billed previously. And you can learn a lot from that. So if they were previously diagnosed with diabetes, but today they got seen and that's not on their chart, but it was seen last time, those kind of things can be missed. And he did probably see the patient for the diabetes, just forgot to click a box. Those kind of things can be helpful to notice. Medication lists are good. Problem lists are good. If you know your meds, then you know when they're on diabetes meds, you know when they're on blood pressure meds, you know when they're on chemotherapy meds. Those kind of things can be helpful not to miss certain diagnoses or comorbidities, but you're not inventing the wheel when you walk in for externship. It's all been done before, and you can do a search in the EHR to see how to code it again. That's helpful for sure. Hey Irene, how's it going? Hey Amy, where do I buy the books? I buy mine from AAPC. You can buy them from anywhere. I'd be careful though about buying them from Amazon. Make sure, or eBay and stuff. Sometimes you can get fakes, which is crazy. I never thought about that. But I always wait for my tax return to come in every year, and then I prepay for the next year's books. So last year I paid for all my 2022 books in March or April, whenever those tax payments came in. So I just go there, buy my membership, buy the books for the next year, and let them roll on in. I don't technically need to buy books anymore, but I buy them for you guys so I can show you codes and teach you and stuff. So, which is a new thing since April of 2021, all over a TikTok, but that's been fun. Seeing so many people pass the CPC, doing my little part to help people pass. So that's been fun. But I get mine from AAPC. I hear a lot of people get theirs from Optum and that they're good options. I think you have to get your CPT from AMA, but you could get your ICD10 and your HCPCS from Optum if you wanted to. But I think your CPT book needs to be a particular one that AAPC approves. And they have a full list on their website to tell you where you can buy them and what you can get. But I always just go to AAPC and give them more money. Let them handle it and ship it all out. Page 63 for the 99437. Let me see. Is that what I said? I think that's what I said. Sorry, I'm slow at getting back to messages. So, yep, 63. We have a 99491 that needs a new child code, which is 99437. And it does have a plus symbol in front of it because it is an add-on code, and it's for each additional 30 minutes. So that one you would multiply times 2, 3, 4, whatever is needed. So you don't need the modifiers 50 or 51 on that one because it's always going to be one of those times ones. Thank you for the roses, Miss Bells. I'm sorry if it is skipping the internet or whatever. I will be reposting this on YouTube. I do, if it records with TikTok and it does get recorded, I repost everything on there. Sorry, messages are going crazy here. So, if you need to schedule tutoring, if you're really close to being ready to pass your exam and you want a mock exam to see if you're ready and that you've learned the process of elimination correctly, if you can identify coding issues by just looking at the answer and getting rid of those, and you want to see if you know how to do that correctly and you're ready for your exam, you can schedule tutoring with me at Medical Coding by Jen. The repeats of these 2-hour-long TikTok sessions that I do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are posted on YouTube at Coding by Jen if TikTok records them. And then everybody should know about my study group. You got to come find me at Jen Brewer on Facebook. Message me. Tell me you want to join our Facebook study group. I'll put you in the group, and that is super helpful. Free, everyday advice from me and coding help all day long in that chat room. So super handy dandy. If you want any of my notes, print out page by page. That's what Etsy's for. Let's check some more messages. I'm sorry. Yeah, those out-of-sequence codes are a nightmare. Looks so confusing. It's not too bad. Not too bad confusing. I went and turned all my apps off and the cell phone off, and it didn't help. Frozen. What days do you go live? I want to learn more. I'm in school at this time, so Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 6:30 Arizona time zone. Hello, Empress. So glad you're here. You need to learn how to use the EHR. Those aren't too hard. You just find the place to do the search of the patient's last name and go from there. Don't ever be afraid to click on anything in an EHR. You're not going to ruin anything or kill it, so click away. Hi, user. Hi, Amy. We've got Miss 182. Howdy, howdy. Can you repeat the website for the books that are legit online? So directly from AMA is a good resource. And then you can always buy them, if not from the AMA's website, AAPC, where you get your certification from, where you take your exam. That's a good legit site for that. Yep, AAPC. Yes, page 63. Notes are great. Thank you, thank you. What are your tutoring days? Since I go live on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays here on TikTok, I try to do all my tutoring on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. But I tutor pretty much 7 days a week now because somebody's always got a particular issue or a time. Like today I did some people that only work from home on Mondays, and it was just going to be the only day they could. So I'll always work with you. Just let me know. But I do have a trip coming up to Phoenix the 20th and the 21st. So it's a Thursday and a Friday where I can't go live and I can't do tutoring those 2 days. Because I got to take Travis, my little demon, for the ones that know me, to Children's Phoenix Hospital just for a yearly thing. So we got to go there. But it's so far for us to drive. We'll stay in a hotel and then go there. Yeah, EHRs are fun. If you ever wanted to learn, like if you're trying to apply for a job and you see that they use or asked if you know how to use a certain computer program, an EHR, whatever, if they've listed the name of it, go to YouTube. There's a YouTube video for everything. So you can always go to that EHR maker's website too. A lot of times they have free certifications in their EHR, and you can get certified in their EHR during the hiring process. And those little courses are easy and fast and not too hard. But you can find all kinds of stuff. I'm from, if you're talking to me, GC, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, but I live in Arizona. And I haven't lived in Mississippi or Tennessee since 2001, so pretty long time. So what I'm going to be going over today is showing you how to prep your books, get them ready for your CPC exam, and then also show you some practice exam questions and how to answer the questions without reading the questions as much as possible. So that's what my expertise is getting people to pass this exam. And I do the exam by taking human nature out of it and attacking the exam from a different point of view than anybody else does. And we get really good scores that way. Number one thing, when you're in your CPT book, since 90 of your questions, or around there, 85 to 90, are going to be all CPT now. The rest are just going to be a few little 3 hit picks and anatomy questions. You really need to make the CPT book your Bible or your brain, so you don't have to remember anything. Very few things do I ever want you to remember, but if you keep your book organized, you can get everything in here that you need for the exam so that you can find it and get ready. One of my first recommendations is to go through the CPT book and add in a few things, like here in anesthesia. They've added in just a few of the anesthesia modifiers, but then they didn't add in all of them. The rest are in the HitPix book. So if you haven't already, be sure and add your anesthesia modifiers that are in the HitPix book. Move them to this page in your CPT book so that you have it. And this page is just your guideline page. That second page is the one that has some free space down at it, and that's a really good spot to put it in. Then as you're going through these codes and making any notes that you might need, the first thing that comes to mind that is super helpful, that's more important than boxing or bubbling or anything else, is if you have parent codes with the same descriptor starting out the first word in each one. These all say anesthesia, 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 anesthesia. Then you have to read in here what's going on. So it's easier to just write a little thing right here next to the codes. We're doing ears here, eyes here, nose here. It's just easier. Then you could go straight here to know whether you're in the right area or not, instead of having to read into each one of them at a time. That's super helpful. Identifying things that you might not know what the word means, like if you don't know what a blip, BLEP surgery is, that means the drooping of the eye, go define some stuff. Go define it. If you don't know what it means, put a definition down. If you don't know that TYMP means that's an eardrum, you should go look that up. Don't assume that the CPC exam question isn't going to just say they're doing an eardrum anesthesia. There is a scope for an eardrum, and then there's eardrumotomy, so there's a surgery there for the eardrum. So this is just a scope into the ear to look in it. Some kids won't lay there and let you look in their ears, so you need to put them out just to do a scope. This is to do a surgery for an eardrum repair. So noting the little differences before the exam or defining any words that you don't know as common words will definitely help you, because they're apt to use common terms too instead of real terms. The other thing that you should do throughout this entire book is the book is supposed to be in alphabet or numerical order. All the codes are supposed to be in order, and they're not. They have a lot of these red notations that say that this code is out of sequence and you need to go search for it between this code and that code. You don't have time. You've got 160 seconds per question to do, and you're not going to have time to hunt and fish. What you need to have here is written down the page numbers, where they go. I'm not through with doing this book entirely, but what I do is I just write down that this code is now on page 54, column 2. So I can run, which is 6 pages back, by the way, and you won't have time to search 2 more columns back and forth through all these pages to look for those codes, but you could find them if you knew exactly where to go. I also write down the page number of where the original code is, just for my own self, to go find it where it should be, but you don't really need that 60 there. What you need are these page numbers, and I include the column number so I know whether it's column 1 or 2, but at least write down the page number and go through the entire book to do that. And there's a lot of them that are done that way, but it will save you during that exam, because if they pick any of these codes and you don't have the page number, you're going to be spinning your wheels just trying to find one code out of 4 or 5 possible answers, and it's going to slow you down. You're never going to get through with the exam on time. That needs to happen right away. And then when you have, let me find something real quick that I haven't updated. 2 parent codes like these right here that start out open. Well, what's our difference? Treatment of tarsal, and this one's metatarsal. So tarsal I will take and write underneath the 65. This one, where it was open treatment of metatarsal, I'll put meta right here. That will save you time, because I guarantee you they're going to pick out this open, treatment. And you got to figure out what the differences are between these 2 codes to know how to answer the question correctly. But if you go on and write those differences here, it's going to save you 1,000, just tons of time. And that's what I do with these codes, and that's why we have this much stuff written down here on the sections. Let me get to the integumentary here. Some of it can look a little crazy because I do different colors for everything, but I like to make it out to be a coloring project for myself. It's just how I learn. The other things are, I can't tell you how helpful it would be to know what certain words mean. So if you don't know what BULLA means, you legitimately have no idea, then go look it up and write down that that's a blister. So they're doing a puncture or an aspiration on an abscess that's just a blister. Well, it could be a cyst. Cysts are fluids in a sac. A lot of people know that one. But what if you didn't even know what they mean by aspiration or puncture? Then write it out. A needle is inserted into the lesion and you draw the fluid. So even whatever it is you don't understand or don't know what the common term is for it, write it down. That will help you out during the exam because they use a lot of common terms. So all that boxing and bubbling is whatever, and I do my colored up sections, but it's more helpful to know these are just abscesses. These are, what word is that? I can't see that far underneath my camera. What am I doing? Incisions, excisions, incisions, and drainages on something. I can't read it because it's too far away from me. These are foreign bodies. That's super helpful. Like here, these are all going to be fine needle aspirations, but this one's using an MR to guide them. This one's using a CT to guide them. This one's using fluoroscope to guide. Being able to pick those out super easy and fast is helpful. There's the rest of our fluoroscope. These are ultrasound. These are no guidance whatsoever. So all fine needle aspirations with no guidance whatsoever, just sticking a needle and drawing something out. That's what all these are. Once you figure out where your heading sort of is, that's what these are, these headings groups, then you can pick out the differences between the codes. Are we doing a fine needle with no guidance for the first lesion, or are we doing multiple? Do I have 5 that we did with no guidance? If we had 5, then I code this one once and then this one times 4. So going through there and kind of bundling your codes and just stating what the differences are between them and getting that stuff written out so that you can tell the differences between the codes is super helpful. Adding to the anatomy is the other thing that I recommend for your CPT book. So if they have a picture of anything and they've labeled it, if you don't know what that part is and its function in the body and it's not told what it does, then you should write down the function too. So like I'm working on the eyeball right now on that section. Or let's work on the male. I can find it faster. I just finished the male stuff. So on this male picture, watch out, I'll cover his booty. If you don't know that seminal vessel is also the part of the body that nourishes the sperm and keeps it alive, that's what it does. That's super helpful. What the prostate gland does, it adds alkaline and fluids to neutralize the vaginal acids. That's super vital to help out. It's an accessory gland also. So is the seminal vessel. It's an accessory gland also. The functions, they'll label some stuff, but they don't really give you the functions on these body parts, and that's super helpful. All I do is a reverse Google search of these pictures, take a picture of it, and have Google go find you a better one that'll list out the functions of it too. That's super helpful, just like with the ears and stuff. And some stuff they don't even draw in. So if they don't have it written in or drawn in, then I do it. If you have AKAs you can find. These are ducts, but they call them canals. It's fine. And then AKAs, and then what it does. Super helpful. Somebody, Brick Strong, wants me to go live with me, but I'm not gonna. I don't know who you are. Sorry, getting distracted. Oop, there goes the mouse. And then like wax builds up in here. Just any little helpful information is always super nice to add. And then, yeah, I get my rainbows. I get crazy. If you want a copy of these notes, page by page, they're on Etsy, but you can do it. I didn't create the wheel here. You can figure this out. But the main thing is, if they're all excisions, excision, excision, and excision, you see those three? What's the difference? One's simple, one's a spur, and one's a lesion. Then we've got biopsy, biopsy, two biopsies. What's the difference? One's external and one's auditory. That's the difference. That will help you and speed you up a whole lot faster than anything else. But it is a lot of work to prep that book and make it into a Bible for yourself for the exam. But it will make your life a whole lot easier during the exam for sure. Get the old one back out so we can do some practice exam questions. I'm studying my CCS exam with a HEMA, and you've been quite helpful. Oh, thank you. Awesome, awesome. We are catching up with you. The HEMA certification, I've always had cases too, and AAPC has always had cases too. In their study guides and things, but they've never done them on the exam. So we're catching up to the times, and I do have a lot of cases that we can go over tonight during the live. But I just wanted to show y'all real quick how you need to really work on that book. Prep it. I do have it mostly all done for you. I do have all of 2021 book done as far as notes. If you need them, they're on Etsy. If you want to change your 2021 books and make them viable for 2022 all year, I have 2 documents there too that will help you work and change on those. Don't forget, we have daily chat. Just come find me at Jim Brewer and on Messenger, and you can join in our daily chat to work on your books or any help and homework and stuff that you might need. But let's go through some questions that I've gotten. I have all of AAPC's exams. I bought all of 2022's too, and some E&M cases too from them, so I can help y'all refer to some examples, and I can show you the process of elimination on just about anything, really. You've probably seen the answer to this one a couple of times while my camera's swinging around, but does anybody have a way where we can still do the process of elimination on this one? If you're just looking at the answers only and you haven't even read the question, what I like to do is just see any patterns. And what I see is B starts with the word A, C starts with the word A, D starts with radical, A starts with insertation, insert, whatever. So I would get rid of A and D just on that alone, because AAPC has a pattern of giving you 2 throwaway answers that have nothing to do with anything, and then giving you 2 that look so similar, there's just small variations. Another reason why I like B and C is because one is an artery and one is a vein, and I know whatever they're doing, they're wanting to make sure I know the differences between arteries and veins, because that's the only real differences between these 2 answers, right? So when I go up here and look, what's my second word right there? It's artery. So what am I going to pick? I don't even have to read the question. I don't have to read the answers. I don't have to do anything. All I'm doing is word matching, really. But before that, I'm looking for patterns. so that I can get rid of stuff. I didn't read any of that answer. I didn't read any of the questions. All I took with me was AA, artery, vein, vein and artery. And then I just looked up here and saw the arteries, and that's it. I'm not reading word for word of any of this mess, and I don't even know what none of the answers really do say. I have no comprehension of what's being said, but I'm word matching, and I'm still getting the answer correct, of course. And that pattern will get you through that exam. Plus, it'll keep you from getting brain fatigue during the exam. Plus, it will help keep you away from all the propaganda that is written into these questions. They use a neuro matrix thing, a neurology thing to help you. It even says it in the white pages that they just shared, that they use psychological warfare on you to help them write these questions. They want to know if they can trick you into the wrong answers. So don't read the questions and don't even read the answers. Just do some word searches. All right. So right here, does anybody know where the ACE is at in the body? Is that a skull, shoulder, pelvis, or leg? Just for process of elimination, I don't like leg. It has no S in it at all. Pelvis, shoulder, skull, it all has S's in it, so that's why I like it. Other than that, leg is just boring and really out of whack. Just letter-wise, that's all I'm thinking about is letters. Skip through these messages. Are you going to add the anatomy pictures to anatomy quiz? Yes, I am. I have almost forgot about that, Shell, so please keep reminding me I need to do that. Can you show us how to do a reverse lookup? Yes, I can. Actually. So I have a picture here. Well, and you know, I don't do Apple, so I don't know what y'all people use on Apple products. So what I do is, so this picture has nothing drawn on it. So I have the extension for Google, and it's called Google Lens. It's right there. So then I just use this to take a picture. And I take a picture of that foot just like that with that pin sticking through. And look, it automatically brings up that we've done a SYN vectomy, whatever. And I tell it to search. And I do our images. And then it brings up pictures. And you can find much better pictures of whatever's going on here. Super handy dandy to do. I love it, love it, love it. Let's see. Even not doing a reverse search. So if you open up Google or Safari, okay, even if you didn't have a picture thing. So if I was in Safari, I could write the header right there on that picture. So I could write arthroscopy ankle. And they're just describing the picture or describing the procedure in a picture. Well, they're describing it in better pictures other places. They have better vocabulary, more writing that you could add to this. Like right here, they've done, see, one of them's going to be the lateral port, which I could add in on that one. This is your arthroscope right there, and that could be the lateral port, one of the two, or is this the lateral port? One of them can be. Which one's the Canada? Which one's the arthroscope port? Trying to figure that out. Let's see. This one's the lateral port. You never know when it would come in handy. Lateral port. This one is going to be our medial. And we had that question on one of our exams, that the ankle was lateral to the, or the knee was lateral to the ankle or something. There was some sort of question in there most recently. But I love these things. Plus, you can add in more stuff. They even use a shaver. Ooh, rough. They go into the Tabar Tybo joint. There's so much stuff you could write in here. I love that little word right there about the joint. And see, it's not listed there. That Tabar joint, whatever that is. And then you could write it in. TIBIO-TALAR. Don't do what I'm doing and write it all in one color, because all this green makes it look like all green blobs. If I was doing this for a real exam review, I would alternate colors between them all so that everything that gets labeled gets a different color. And I only use the ultrafine Sharpies because they don't bleed and they don't smear. But I think others have found others that work just as well. Just don't use felt tip, please, Lord. But that's all. Just type in the name or anything. You can, right here. This is just the skeletal system. So if you just type in skeletal system, it'll bring up even better people. People have labeled stuff better. Like that hip joint I was just asking y'all about is also called the iliac crest, or there. Even writing in the distal and the neck parts of the bones are super helpful. And there's that ACE tabulum is part of the hip bone too, which we were just at a minute ago on our last question. But you can always do a reverse search, but that ACE is sort of in the hip bone area. So we know it's in the pelvis. You failed with a 290. I was defeated, but I was trying to prepare. Took it twice. Sometimes it's not as easy. And I haven't audited the CCS exam, but I audited the AAPC exam, so I know that they have patterns in what they do. And, you know, Janet is one of my students who, she's passed her CCS. She says 90% of what I do will get you there for CCS. There's going to be 10% that I can't teach you because I don't have access to that exam and don't know what because they're teaching that PSC stuff. And I don't do hospital stuff. I do medical auditing in doctor's offices and with the health plans. But I can get you 90% of the way there with the process of elimination and other things that can help you. For sure. Yeah, a lot of people do overcode. I just got my 2022 books. Will the Etsy notes help? Yes, absolutely. Dreamin', absolutely. I haven't taken it yet, but I've noticed that I learned towards overcoding. Yep. CCS is similar. Yes, it is. They have PSC codes to do in the hospital too, and they have cases too. Y'all have been answering my question, the B's and C's for the pelvis. Yes, yes, yes. What's it Google helpful app again? Lens, Lens. Right there, and that's what it looks like. Lens. You can either do a search with your own pictures, or you can do a search with your camera and have it take a picture and do a search. Super easy. You can even get old books, old books even. Like I have, somebody gave me, in my family was going to medical surgery school or something, like to be a surgery tech or something. And I have this old book, oh my gosh, of anatomy. And I love this thing because it's not wordy. It's more pictures than anything. What is this, from 2008? The World's Best Anatomy Charts. Anatomy and Physiology. And this is from 2008. I had this out because I used it for the eyes and the ears. But it's not wordy. And like for the eye, it tells you their functions in small little paragraphs or whatever. They're just small. And plus they draw them better. It's not dark in here. I've got the lights on, and I don't know why. I got extra lights I can put on. Everything's looking so dark. And it may be because of there we go. I got too much light coming from underneath it. But I just love this book because it draws out better pictures, and then it's not wordy. I can handle a little bit of information. I don't need, books about this stuff. I just need better pictures so I can label more parts. And a lot of libraries will give these books away, or your family members have them and they're not using them. You'd be surprised what you can find just floating around that no one's really using. So that could also be an option. Swinging cameras around. All right. Bring this back up. There we go. Touch screen. You're learning that book, Amy? That's cool. Yeah, it really does help. That process of elimination gets you down to 50-50 shot, at least, if in nothing else, It does a really great job. So we got foot and hands. Those are sort of similar just because they're flip-flopped. And then we got upper, arm, and leg. So what are we doing right here? Where is the abductor hallucis muscle at? Where is that muscle? Foot, leg, arm, or hand? $182 is right. Yep. Perfect. It is in the foot. It's a tiny little bone. Tiny little bone. Tiny little bone. This is one of my new questions from 2022 for keeping my CEUs and continuing education through AAPC. And it's a new question, too, that I've never seen them ask or purchase through all their courses and things. So I thought it was funny because they started it out with little Ralphie. So somebody was being silly. Little Ralphie and his little Red Ryder BB gun. So I thought somebody was being really funny. And yes, this did come out in December during Christmas. So I loved it. That's why I picked the question to give out to you guys today. So it's going to be a diagnosis one. Move my CPT out of the way and get out an ICD10.
Back from a search.
Oh, Google searching for us for some reason. So, if he had a BB gun malfunction, that's funny. Looking at the answers just for process of elimination, I like the fact that 1110 and 111 are closer than the 19 and the 118 I don't like those two. So process of elimination, I would get rid of these two, and I would keep these that are just super close together. Those are really close together. And I'm only looking at them numerically. I'm not looking at them by a coder standard at all. I'm just looking at the numbers, looking for a pattern. So if we go to W34, and some of y'all probably already know the answer because I'm slow. 34, 110, and 111. So we've got a malfunction of an air gun or a BB gun, and this one is for a paintball gun. So we can tell right away what the differences are. And the one thing that the ICD book does that I wish the CPT book would do, it would save us a lot of trouble, is the differences in the codes are in green. So if you have 2 or 3 or whatever, and they're all similar and starting off with the same thing, accidental discharge of this, that, and the other thing, they are different because they tell you right away it's an air gun is the different, paintball is the difference. Gas, air, spring. Paintball, I love that. I wish they did that in the CPT. If they were bitten by a shark or struck by a shark, that's the difference in those two. And they light it up for you in green. I really wish the CPT book was like that. That would be great. So what I would do also to prep for the exam, guys, don't forget as we're doing these questions, and you're right here beside the code, and we know our answer is going to be A, so it was a Ralphie with a BB gun malfunction. Just write your example in. BB gun malfunction, and then circle it or underline it, whatever you want to do. If it also came with another external cause, like he was at home with a Y99.0 or whatever, if that was the second code, I would add that here. I would keep them in order so that I knew which one to code first, which one to code second, whatever. But I would add everything there. And if they had a procedure code, like they removed the BB gun from his body, and they had an integumentary code that went with it, I would add it here too. Keeping those little examples in your book is super handy. If you ended up having an integumentary code too, I would write it in the CPT book. Just a tiny little note. It doesn't have to be paragraphs. BB gun malfunction. I'd write the diagnosis, write the CPT code, whatever was in our question, especially if you know they're questions that come from AAPC and they're practice questions. All these references in your books during your exam can help you out, for sure. Hey Mason, how's it going? I think I'm caught up on messages, so if y'all got any more, let me know. I hope the internet hangs in there with you guys and it doesn't freeze too much. I do have some big cases coming up, so get ready for that. Lots of reading. Here's another one for diagnoses. So let's just look at the codes real quick. We're just looking at these to see if we see any patterns. We've got 2 that are the 69, 2 that are the 61, so if we have a practice question, write notes in all of those because it could help during the exam. Why not? If you have an entire course of medical coding and billing, are you going to remember every example in your head during your exam? What if you had an entire course worth of examples to reference during your exam? Don't you think that might be helpful? Especially in things where things are going to be sequenced and you do have a lot of things that are added in, like if you did have, our external causes are supposed to be coded with 5 different scenarios, or burns, Or OB and delivery. What if you had twin deliveries, one vaginal, one C-section, one came out blue and needed a trach and an umbilical cord catheterization and then got sent to NICU? You had to code all that. You're going to remember your scenarios, what codes first, what codes second. It's definitely not your vaginal baby that came out fine. It's your C-section baby that gets coded second. What if you have triplets? All that you could write a little scenario about it in your books near the OB codes is so beneficial to have. And if you're paying for an entire course and you're looking up all these codes, it's helpful. I have like a list of the top 10 diagnose coding guidelines that are always on the CPC exam. And you know you're going to do burns. You know you're going to have a septic patient. You know you're going to have a catheter tunnelization with a pump or without a pump. You know you're going to have some sort of external cause. Somebody's going to get shot with a gun at home or get in a fight at a bar or get hit with a ball at the baseball field. You know you're going to do a cabbage. You know you're going to do some debridement. You know you're going to do a lesion removal with a skin tag removal and a punch biopsy. Which one do you code first? If you have some of those questions answered and you got the correct answer back from your teacher and your scenario was a lesion with a punch biopsy and some skin tags, then why not at least write the answers out in the correct order near those codes so that you knew you coded it that way before and got the answer right. It might help you with some direction during the middle of an exam when you don't know which code to go first the next time. It's all helpful. Home codes. What is at home codes? Parent codes and child codes. That description is in the front of your CPT book on how to use this book. Go to the very first pages of your CPT book. There's a whole page listed out that says how to use this book, and there's a part that will tell you what the difference is between the parent and child codes. But that is there. So, looking at this real quick, sometimes I like to just see how many diagnoses I might have in here without looking up every one of the codes. It's just one other strategy you can use. What I normally do is go in here, look up the differences between the 69 and the 61 just to see what the two differences are and do them. But I wanted to show you a different way to do this too tonight because we have bilateral knee pain. There's one part about some of the diagnosis codes that you can't code bilateral because they don't have that code. They only have a right and left, so you need two codes for that. When they update to ICD10, which they already have in the UK and the World Health Organization is already using it, so we will be forced to use that pretty soon. They do have bilateral everything in there. But for now, we don't, so a lot of times you need two codes for that. But this is following a fall, so I know I need another one here. So that tells me I need 3 codes. So without looking up anything other than to see why the patient was here, I know that D is my answer because I need 3 diagnosis codes. Does that make sense? Instead of having to go look up the 69 and the 61 to make sure that we're in the right area, it just makes sense because we only have 1 code here. We've got 2 codes here, and then we have 1 answer with 3 codes. So just kind of checking out the question, I know that I need 3, and then I can just pick the 1 answer that has 3 in it and move on with my day. Just another strategy I have. Yep. There are Y codes at home, and your external causes guideline tells you that you have to code the place of where accidents happen if it's known. So that goes along with the beginning of your ICD guidelines. Find the right book here. I've got books everywhere. Books, books, books. There it is. So, the beginning of your ICD-10 book has all these lovely guidelines that I make notes for, and I typed out 2022's guidelines for this year, but 2021's were handwritten like this. But your guideline says that you need to do the cause of the accident, the intent of the accident comes second. For sequencing, the place of service, or where it happened, is third. The activity is fourth. And the status of the patient is coded fifth. So what I do to remember that, because even though you might have good intentions of printing your guidelines and bringing them with you for some exam, you'll never have time to reference these things. Figure out where in all this mess your guideline is at, and then figure out how to answer that question by reading your guidelines during the middle of this exam. You're not going to have time. So to mitigate that issue, I like to take all this stuff and move it to everywhere in the book I might need it. So you have 3 indexes in the front of this book. The first one is your alphabetical one. The second one is your neoplasm index. Your third index is actually your external causes. So I move that guideline to that page so that I can have it there. We're not always given every single one of the reasons why, but we need to make sure that we code them in proper order. And one of the things they will test you is to see if you understand that place of where the accident happened is coded before the activity that they were doing, like playing baseball. They were at home playing baseball. So I move it there, but then I also move it to the actual chapters in the back of the book. So I have it with the codes, because like this, you're just given codes. You're not going to be indexing anything during that exam. You're going to be running from code to code. So I also move it to the chapters where external causes start and finish. This is chapter 20, and your Y code for home, I believe, is Y99, right? Somewhere around in there, activities done at home. Somewhere around there, there's a military, a volunteer activity, something around in here. Those are still more of your status codes. So if they were a volunteer when the accident happened, a part of the military, that would go in there too. And status is coded, which one? Last. So coded last. But I know home is somewhere around the 90s. The activity that they were doing, place is somewhere, home. Where is our place? I can look it up in the index a lot easier. That's neoplasms. Place is yellow. So I go through here and I highlight, all the colors so they'll light up for me. And yellow home. At a house, where's home? H-O-M-E, where's home? There's hospital, hospital, home. See place of occurrence, which is residence. They only call it a residence. It's a home. Why can't you call it home? It's residence. Okay. We'll turn another page and go to residence. Residence home is going to be Y92009. That is home. Everything has a code. I remember in coding school back in the early 90s, 1993 or 4, we had to code some guy falling out of a UFO and then getting hit on the way down by a vehicle being driven by a farm animal of some sort. So yeah, they got codes for everything. That was fun. Thank you for the roses. Super sweet. I gave out grants this week in case some of you are curious. I sell one list of what has been on the exam the last 45 days. It's a list of all the anatomy and raw codes, like this CPT code was on there, this diagnosis code was on there, this anatomy word was on there. It's a list on Etsy, and everything that I use from that particular page goes to grants for people that need it. And I have somebody who works for Uber Eats who was saving to buy something, and I gave her 3 of things that she needed to finish updating because she hasn't passed her exam lately. But I also will be using the TikTok funds for that too, so that's why I brought it up. It's just will be fun. So far, I think we've got like $17 in TikTok ever since I've been doing this since April. It's not a lot of money, but it eventually adds up, and that could help bless someone with a free section of my notes too. But if anybody is in need of any of my notes and just can't do it, just send me a note and I'll keep you in mind for as money builds up that what I can send out to whoever's in need. So don't forget to ask, or if you know somebody, because I know a lot of you are in classes together with people. This is a repeat on some of those questions I found in the 2022 CPC exam questions for us people that are already certified. They were updated and written in a way that I hadn't seen AAPC write questions before, so I just want to show them off one more time. That these are, I mean, we could do process of elimination probably with minimal and moderate, right? We'd get rid of the low and the high. Okay, so after that, we need to find out what's going on here. So we just have a UTI. What is a UTI? Is that minimal or moderate? Ooh, my kids are making tons of racket. What do you guys think? Are you using things as properly? You're just touching everything in this house. No, you aren't measuring anything in my home. Stop it. You're just fiddling with stuff inappropriately. Stop and distract me. Don't sit on that couch if you're not going to do it right. Why is there paper on our couch? Travis James. This. That's James's. Pencils over there. Chair moved. Mini blinds crushed. Fix yourself. Sorry, had to go yell at the kids for just a second. Oh, Shell. You're welcome. Just delete one of those emails for me, please. The one with the Word document. I sent you the original document by mistake, so just delete that one. But then keep all the PDFs. So, yes, she let herself be known. Shell was graced with some PDFs from the grant fund, so she worked so hard all weekend, so. Just delete my original document. That's the Word document. Yeah, keep all the PDFs there for you. Travis, did you eat something yet? What did you eat? I'm still yelling at my kids. Sorry, guys, I didn't freeze. They're going amok, going amok, going amok. Thank you, Coupon, cutie. It's good to see you in here. This question, so I'd still do the process of elimination. I get rid of low and I get rid of high. And then what do we do with UTIs, Guy? Are those moderate or minimal? What do you think? For noting the changes to the 2021 book to turn it into a 2022 book, or are you talking about each section and making it with my notes? So let me know which one you're talking about there, and I'll show you which ones. I'll pull it up here. Yep, a UTI is just moderate. So I would have thought it's minimal. You know, it's not that big of a deal, but it is moderate. Here's the other one that is new. So we know this is all new patients, right? So this is another UTI infection for a new patient. What would you bill that patient? I sell a document that my mentees, people that I've been tutoring, have helped me create. They come back from their exam and tell me what was on their exam from their memory. We only know, maybe a code, like this CPT code was on there, this vocabulary term was on there. We don't know like actual questions or anything, obviously, but we know words and we know just certain things that were on there. And I've compiled like a 25, 30 page list of definitions like sesamoid bone. I know the view's not going to be good. Rule out heart attack. How would you code somebody who is going to have a heart attack but hasn't had their heart attack yet? Those kind of things are on our exam. Oops. I'm sitting here auditing the page and deleting photos from it. Get rid of that. Leave. But that's what, because everybody that has brought me that information, I don't want to profit from it, so I put that money in a pool for a grant for my other notes that people might need or are saving up for, that I find out that they need. So that one is called What Has Been on the CPC Exam in the Last 45 Days. That's the name of it. And it's $25. It gives you raw information from anybody who's texted me saying that I just took my CPC exam and I had this question on it, but we don't know the whole question. But we have, what are the 3 parts of the shoulder? What are the 3 parts of the knee? What are the 3 parts of the humerus bone? Those are kind of things that we've collected on there. We have HCPCS code. They might remember there was an S01, 03, I think. Those kind of things that they remember, and we put it down on this list, and it's available on Etsy. Now, the ones that will take your 2021 book and you can turn it into a 2022 book is the CPT right there. And then I have one for the ICD10 right there. The ICD10 2022 versus 2021. It tells you what codes to delete and what to write in. The rest of them are section by section of each one of the sections in the CPT book. I can't do an entire book Etsy won't let me for PDF sizes, so I split them up by section. Some of the sections are such big sections that they're 5 downloads, but some of them can be just 1 download, but they're all instant downloads, and they're just page by page exactly what I have in my books, so that you can make your notes my notes and add to that as you need to. But that's what's on Etsy. But that's the one that goes to the grant fund that I can give out sections or tutoring. I have tutoring coming up Friday for someone who could not afford 2 sessions. She needed 2. She did get 1, and I graced her with a second one out of the grant fund so that she can tutor Wednesday and Friday. And also, those are days I don't like doing tutoring because I do the 2-hour Tiki Talks, but they need those days, so I ended up adding in people on those days too. So there's a lot behind the scenes that goes on with all this stuff, but happy to help as long as I can, when I can. We have the UTI. How would we bill this one? I'll get back to that. We've got B's and C's. I don't know, Twinkle. I hope it just gets better, is what I hope it is. I have Wi-Fi guys coming out here to my house on Wednesday because I've not been happy with them. I also ordered Elon Musk's satellite crap. I don't know when it'll be here or if it will be. It said sometime mid-year, so I'm trying everything. We don't have like underground cable or nothing, but we have Suddenlink or Tri-State, and then the only other thing I think I could do to maybe boost myself is to do Elon Musk, right? I mean, he's supposed to be this genius, so I figure whatever he's selling might be better than what I have locally here in Arizona. So I'm trying it out. Whenever it shows up, I have no idea. You just put a deposit down and he'll send it to you whenever he gets good and dang ready to. So we'll see. Hopefully that might help too. I don't know. But I do have my satellite and internet people coming out on Wednesday to check my system, because I keep telling them at 8 o'clock every night, which it is right now here in Arizona, it is 8 o'clock right on the dot, my internet keeps going out. And I can't have that. So we definitely could get rid of the nurse visit, right? At least. And we know a UTI, she's not circling the drain and dying. So we can get rid of those 2 right away. So she's either a B or a C. And a UTI, it might be moderate, but it is going to be a 3. Either a 1-3 or a 0-3. So we have that. It's a B. The other one we had was between these. So we have a prescription drug management is what we did today. So we know, again, it's not going to be the 2. We know it's not going to be the 15. So between the 14 and the 13, what do you think prescription drug management is? We got a C. We got a B. Another C. She does have a chronic condition that's not at goal, but we have limited data. We are at a B. We are at a B. That's it of those. I have those cases, lots of those cases that I wanted to show y'all today so that you could get used to looking at these for our last 10 that we will have on the CPC exam. I hope y'all can see these. I like to modify our questions and get them into 3-inch squares so that I can focus down on these easier, but these cases are so big. I'm just going to do the best I can here to show you as much as possible. B. BB. For our chronic condition. So this is an example of a case that you might see for our last 10 questions on the CPC exam that will be different. You're not going to be given MDM, and you will not be given a time. So you're going to have to code their MDM and probably their diagnoses with it, because a lot of these have multiple answers or multiple questions. So, and you have more multiple answers available. So instead of just having A, B, C, or D, you might have A, B, C, D, E, and F to answer from. Yay! Thanks, Petra. That's awesome. I'm so glad you came back to tell me. That's awesome to hear. Yay! So glad I was able to help you out in some way to pass. That's great. Process of elimination helped. So this one is for a pap smear. She's got pelvic pain, endometrius, and irregular bleeding. Awesome, Petra. That's great. I hope you find that medical coding job you've always been looking for. Oh, yeah. Remote, whatever you want to do, don't forget to think outside the box. Look at the health plans like Cigna, Blue Cross Blue Shield. They're hiring coders. CVS. They even have a remote job right now for customer service, $25 an hour. Remote. There's pharmacies, lots of people outside the outpatient surgery centers, all kinds of stuff. Or you can move up with the company that you already work for. So whatever. I hope you get the job you're looking for sure. But just don't forget to think about, you don't always have to work for a doctor's office or a medical group or a hospital. You can work for the health plans themselves, pharmacies, ambulance services, all kinds of places. So we've got a 33-year-old who's here. She's an insulin-dependent diabetic, questionable thyroid disease. She's here for her irregular bleeding. She's a heavy smoker. She's got migraines, heart palpitations, and abdominal pain and anxiety. Oof. We are going to be able to get some of her billing information now too that they give us for these cases. So her billing information, the physician had documented a complete date of service. They coded her as a 99213 the last time she was here, and she did have commercial payer. So for today's visit, for her pap smear, we definitely wouldn't code her with a nurse visit, and she's not circling the drain dying, so I'd at least get rid of these. I know I wouldn't code her with diabetes, so I'd get rid of E, right? Symptoms are R's, right? I don't know if I'd code her with symptoms. Z's are usually physicals or history of, I'm not sure what that would be. So even if I didn't even look up anything in the book, I might code her with the N thing on my own. What would you code her for her office visit? What do you guys think? Yeah, it looks like a Bible. It looks like a lot. You got to get in the habit, Shawnee, of being able to just skim it. You can't read it. If you read 10 cases like this, you won't finish. You need to be able to just look for what the key parts are that you have to know to be able to code her. So your chart in your CPT book, in the front of it, that dreaded chart, if you're in 2021 book, it's on page 16. All you need to know is how to code from one level to another. I need to know if she's a level 13 or a level 14. So the differences here are 13, she has one stable chronic condition. Well, this hot mess of a woman down there has got more than one stable chronic condition. She has multiple chronic crappy diseases that are all over the place, anxiety and irregular periods and diabetes and thyroid issues. So knowing this chart and what qualifies for this is all you need to know. Just going through and breezing through this and doing exactly what I did and not reading none of this other crap. We just know that she is here for endometriosis, irregular bleeding. I went through, found that she has diabetes, questionable thyroid problems. I skipped all that, kept right here under the review of systems that they had spaced out. I didn't even change the spacing or anything. That they gave us the migraines, palpitations, abdominal pain, and anxiety. So she's a hot mess for tons of crap. So that's all I need to know. I don't need to know more than I don't need to dive into all this mess to know anything else other than what I need to know to level her, to give her a code for her visit today. There you go. So we are definitely, going to give her a D. And then I went through here one by one and thought about just knowing a little bit about what these codes were. I could do the process of elimination and get rid of all the codes and do it on my own, because all they're asking for is her primary diagnosis for today. Primary. They're not asking for all of them. She's not here seeing this doctor for diabetes, and I know that's what E10 is, right? We know that. Ours are symptoms and signs as crap. Could have been that, but we don't like to use those as a diagnosis code for a day, right? The Z code would have been a history of, or chemotherapy or radiation. So just by process of elimination, I don't even know what N92 is. You could look it up. You'll have time during the exam if you want to, but I'm just showing you how I would attack it just to keep moving and moving on. I know it has to be whatever A is, because I know these can't be the first diagnosis for that day, just because I know my guidelines and know things that should be right and wrong. So this is your rationale for this example. It does tell you that she was moderate, and the reason why she was moderate was because we have an uncertain prognosis. She had a number of complexity problems to address during the diagnosis period or during that visit. He did order her some tests and reviewed some, because she's going to go have a hysterectomy, so that's why she became a 14. Now for the diagnosis, they tell you that diabetes is normally coded first when it's the cause of the disorder or the reason why she's being seen today, but the diabetes has nothing to do with the reason she's being seen today. She's being seen today because of her periods are really bad. The Z01 is a preventative medicine thing, but that's not why she's here. She's here because she's bleeding for 2 weeks, and it is making it hard for her to control her life, including her diabetes, because of all that heavy bleeding. So we would not report her R code for that. Our only one we would do is for her periods. So let's try the next one. We've got chest congestion, runny nose, fever, and cough in a 42-year-old. Vitals look fine. 72. You're going to need to learn how to skip through some of this stuff. Lungs are clear. Do I care about anything else? He does have postnasal drip. They did a rapid screening. He's positive for influenza A, negative for influenza B. Started him on some antivirals. That's what that is. And some promethazine, which is like, it's an anti-nausea, but also an allergy pill, also good for anything. It's a good pill to take. My kid takes it for anxiety sometimes, so he gets so anxious and worried about homework and classes, he just can't be happy, and he gets so nervous with himself that he's so worried about the day. You can give him a hydroxine, which is just the promethazine, and he's just fine after that. He can calm himself. But it's just an allergy pill is all that is. The patient is to return, comes back in for a blood pressure check later on in the day because they did not do one up here. So, billing information on this patient that we do have is that they are Medicare and they've been billed as a 214 previously. How would you bill today's visit? I definitely wouldn't do a nurse visit. I wouldn't do the 215. Now, the second visit where he came back later in the day and did the blood pressure check the same day, would you bill for that visit as a nurse visit? Or would you throw a modifier on? Or would you not bill for that blood pressure check? So we've got two questions here. What level did this patient meet with that age is the factor, of course. That's the question where the patient was reported as 72 one place and then 42 in another place. That's funny. I keep forgetting about that. Yeah, but they didn't diagnose that patient with a routine GYN, and they said that the services were not part of that. It says the ZO1419 would not support the medical necessity of what was done. The note reads she bleeds for 2 weeks off and on, and her periods are heavy. She states that even her irregular ones, she's in a lot of pain, and they're unrelenting. They're not coding her with a routine wellness exam for that. She's actually coming in with complaints of a disease process. So she didn't come in with no complaints and just needing a wellness exam. She came in with complaints. So that's why they didn't give her the Z1, even though they did what appears to be a wellness exam or a routine pap smear, but that's not. They just did the pap smear because of her symptoms, not as a routine wellness. Hopefully that helps. Anyway, back here to our little man who's either 42 or 72. Yep, the answers are the 213. It was a low decision making, and the nurse visit at the end of the day does not qualify for billing. Here's another new one that I have not gone over online yet. So we have 3 diagnoses here: anemia, renal failure, colitis. Current vitals are right here. We have a review of some labs from about 10 days prior, 9 days prior. Doc said chronic bone marrow failure not clearly due to a protein deficiency. Etiology remains unclear. Oh, great. Don't you love doctors that don't know what the diagnosis is? He's quite elderly, is what he's going to diagnose him with today, really. Probably has an element of this, but we can't do rule outs when we're not in the hospital. He's been unresponsive to the treatment that's been given and may need to have a transfusion. We'll return to the clinic in 4 weeks with a CPC, and we will hold 2 units of red blood cells for that visit too. He had already had a transfusion of 2 units on 3/7, was seen again on 12/28. In between then, did have those labs done 9 days in between, and is still low. It's going somewhere. He should have a GI or consult or something if he was my patient, because that blood's going somewhere, so he must be pooping it out or peeing it out. He'd have urology and geology, geo for urinary consults if it was me. But very interesting. I'm not the doctor, but I'll just keep giving you blood and seeing you every 4 weeks. What a terrible doctor. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's got me unfocused. I'll just keep giving you blood and seeing you every 4 weeks. What a terrible doctor. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's got me unfocused. Billing information. Commercial was given a 99215, one of the last visits. So with this patient, would we do a nurse visit for today's visit? I don't think so. Other than that, what do you guys think? B, C, D, or E? Do we meet the qualifications based off the little amount that this doctor did to qualify for what correct E&M? And you really have to start using that chart on 16 and 17 to be able to get these correct. I've got an E for a 15. Anybody else want to guess? What about the diagnosis? Would we be in the N's, the R's, or a D? Anybody want to guess at that? Take the charger out and plug it up here to the phone and see. For this case, we definitely won't do a straightforward, right? Are we going to do a low, moderate, or high? Decision-making skills of the physician. Everybody saying D? For this patient, we are going to code them as a 214. and their diagnosis is that D63.1. So the medical decision making is a moderate because the physician is treating a chronic condition that is exacerbation. You know, the anemia is not going away. It's still there. It's still bad, and we're still treating it by giving it blood transfusions. So definitely qualifies for the 214. Now, for all the other ones, the chronic kidney disease, the anemia, and all that stuff, if we looked up the D1, we would find that it's the anemia due to chronic kidney disease. So he is peeing it all out. Oh no, or she. So I figured it was one of those things. Good job, Bells. All right, here's another one. We've got a sore throat, no fever, no allergies, alert, no fever. We have enlarged tonsils, good breath sounds, just a sore throat, and we cultured it, told him to go home and use a Tylenol and mist humidifier. No signs of distress yet. The billing information that we have is that this patient was billed for a 99213 previously and is a commercial payer. So how would we bill this? Ooh, it's changing up the question a little bit. It's saying if this patient also had a 0.6 centimeter wart removed from his scalp on the same day, what would be the appropriate E&M for that? Interesting. So if we saw the patient for this sore throat, then we also removed a tiny little wart from his face. Which one of these would you pick right away? Would you do not billed? That's wrong. If you know your guidelines, you definitely would not bill. You would bill for the extra E&M. You definitely wouldn't do a 213. You would need a modifier. So this one is pretty easy to pick out because we know our only modifier we really use is to use that 25 modifier to tell you that you did 2 real office visits on this patient. Now they also switched it up and said, how would you code that wart that you removed? And if you think about it logically, it's one wart off one body part. So what would be the answer without doing anything? What would be the answer? A, B, C, or D for one wart on one spot? Yep, the answer is both A and A. If you think about things and don't stress about anything changing or asking you something weird, and think about things because you know more than what you think you know. Don't let them trick you, because we're sitting here thinking that we're fixing to code a sore throat, and then you get to the questions and they don't ask you to bill the sore throat at all. They ask you to bill, oh, well, let's remove a wart from this person. Don't let it freak you. Just take one answer at a time and eliminate what you know can't be right. And if you know anything about integumentary, one little old wart from the scalp is just going to be one little old code, right? Anything else is garbage and just there to get in your way. So definitely A and A. I hope that's helpful. But these are like brand new questions. I've never seen them asked this way. It's really neat to look at these cases and see what they end up asking after we look at them, for sure. So here's the rationale for those. The answers are both A. I got these questions from AAPC. I bought the questions from the E&M certification. So if you wanted to go into E&M and you wanted to be certified, CE, whatever that is, MES, you can buy those questions too for practice, and that's where I got these cases from. I thought it would be the most logical place to get cases from, since they're going to be adding them to the CPC exam. And during their live YouTube stream that they did on the 3rd of January or something, they said their cases were going to be mainly E&M. Those 10, there might be 1 or 2 that aren't E&M cases, but mostly all of them are going to be E&M. So my first thought was to go to that certification and get those practice questions, and they ended up all being cases. So hopefully that helps. I'm just taking a wild guess as to what they might be. (24) and 25. Got a question about that. 24 is unrelated, and then 25 is a significantly separate, identifiable (24) is during a post-op period. This patient just was in for a sore throat and then needed a wart. 24 is only used during a post-op period when you see a patient during their global 90 days and you need to see them for a fractured leg, but their post-op was for OB care or something, C-section, I don't know, where they have a 90 days, I don't know. But they're totally different E&M modifiers for sure. 24 is for post-op. So you would be seeing a patient for a routine visit after you did a surgery on them, and if it's during their global time, but then you saw them for something unrelated to that global procedure, that's when you'd use 24. But this one was for 25. Most definitely. It's most likely what they use during the regular doctor visits anyway to see your primary care physician. It's normally always 25. 24 is for your surgeons and post-op people. So our explanation for this patient also tells us that the 25 modifier is the only reason. The removal of the wart is a benign lesion, so you don't have to do anything other than just doing that. It says debriefment in the bundle. Oh yeah, because they had a ton of codes with the 59 and the 51. Yeah, we didn't have any of that crap in there. But if we did, we could use it, but it was just a simple wart removal. If they had fallen in the parking lot on the way into the doctor's office and had gravel in their arm and stuff that needed to be debrided before we sutured it up, we might be able to use some modifiers like 59. But this one was just a simple little wart. He should have put a rock in a box. If you've ever listened to any of my YouTubes, you'll know what that means. But I will move on. That would have been a whole lot simpler, is to put a rock in a box. All right. This patient is being seen by a physician. It looks like a referring physician with somebody else. So we're seeing this person for blood in their sperm, right? We've got a 65-year-old male. So this is a consult, right? And he's just pink all over. All right. He has no history of any STDs, UTIs, or prostate cancer. But he does have arthritis and depression. Past surgeries are here. He takes cod, fish oil, vitamins, glucosamine for his joints, CB, naproxen, and nothing else. Nothing of note. He's divorced. Does have a significant family history for strokes. How are his vitals? Tall guy. All right. Normal weight. His prostate is enlarged slightly. Everything else is fine. They did a UA. They did review some lab work. He ordered the patient to take some antibiotics. They're going to repeat that PSA. Did you know you can't get a prostate level if you have a prostate exam that day, because it automatically inflates your PSA levels? So a lot of doctors do this wrong. If they're going to get a prostate exam, you need to wait before you draw a lab for that, because you will get incorrect lab results, by the way. And so they're going to treat him with some antibiotics. Billing information on the patient is we have a Medicare patient who was previously billed with a 99245, but patient has not seen this physician before. So we definitely wouldn't do an 01. That code's not even a code anymore. And, you know, I bought these questions in 2002, and that one's been deleted since 2000. They really need to update their questions. But I digress. What would we give this level of visit for this patient? Is he straightforward, low, moderate, high? What do you guys think? Yeah, that's the point, is to get more practice with these questions. If the doc did a hysterectomy on a patient and came in for a yeast infection, yep, during the 90-day clobe period. That's an excellent example. I couldn't think of one. That's a really good one. Rocks in the box. Shell knows what I'm talking about. Anybody want to take a guess? How would we code this patient? The second question is, if the urinalysis had been done in the absence of an ICD10 code that supports the medical necessity, what should the office have done? Complied with the Medicare thing and gotten the Medicare waiver form signed? If anybody knows about the ABN form, they're probably asking about those. Or charge the patient for the urinalysis, or do both A and B. I'm listening to my kids in the background. They're arguing about anime. Oh my gosh. So I missed one of the questions. There was 3 questions on this one too. In the diagnosis, I didn't pick up. But the first 2 answers, they did diagnose or give this patient a low complexity instead of moderate or high. And you know, if you've been following me long enough, if you have an option that picks all of the above, none of the above, or both A and B, or both B and C, AAPC loves those. So your answer is usually always ends up being one of those if that's an option. So those are your two answers. He also ended up with a diagnosis of an R36.1, but I didn't copy that answer over and paste it into this scenario. I'll have to go back and do that the next time I do this. But his medical decision level for that antibiotic was low. So that's why they gave him the 03. And the question about the ABNs, you're definitely always going to comply with any Medicare guidelines at all. Both of them both say comply with it, and you make sure that they sign the advanced beneficiary notice, which is an ABN, and then you also let them know about any non-covered charges before you do the service. So that's why it's A and B, and that's what they're explaining here. And then your normal diagnosis for the blood in the sperm is right there. That's your R code. So here's another case. So we have a 45-year-old return. So we got an established patient with right upper extremity venous fistula. No complaints today. Is dialysized every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So she's on dialysis. Her blood pressure was fine. SATs are a little low at 96. You really want people to be 98 or above. That 96 is concerning when she's not on any oxygen, but she is on dialysis, but she's awfully young at 45 to have a 96. I don't know if it's a typo or intentional during this example. This one looks like they are doing the Doppler study for this in the office. So they did the study in the right upper arm extremity. They found significant stenosis in the upper cephalic vein. Cephalic vein. I almost got it right saying, of a 12 mm. It appears to be mature enough for canalization. However, there appears to be significant stenosis, which is hardening of her stuff, her veins, her pressure, and she will have increased venous pressure during dialysis and all that stuff. We will perform a right upper extremity fistiogram with possible balloon angioplasty and stents if required. We've told her about her risk and the benefits of other alternatives. She understands and agrees to go through. We will not remove her tunnel dialysis catheter until we make sure that her fistula is working again. Her last billing information was that she's on Medicare and they gave her a 99214 before. So what would you give her for her visit today? She's definitely not a nurse visit. They're also asking us if this patient later became critically ill and saw her nephrologist for 75 minutes bedside for critical care, what would you code? That's a simple thing to go look up in our chart, right? And then they're asking us for a diagnosis for that today's visit. So first question, what level visit would you give her? Is there a list of diagnoses and where they fall on the chart, or it depends on the test and reviewing? Is there a list of diagnoses and where they fall on the chart? What chart? We have a whole list of diagnoses in our ICD10 book, but I'm just not sure which chart you're talking about. For critical care, all you got to do is look up your 291 code and look at the chart to see how long 75 minutes is, and then either bill her with a 91. You definitely won't do the 92 because that's an add-on code. It will not be the only code for that. Definitely might not be your none of these. It's probably between these two, and I bet it's C. For this one, they're going to give her a 214 for having 2 chronic diseases, right? Because her dialysis is still going, so she has renal disease that is not resolved. She has to go 3 days a week for the kidney disease. Now she's got stenosis of her arteries that is really significant, so she's definitely a 2-1, so she won't get the 13 or the 12. Her 75-minute scenario, if she was in critical care, is definitely on that chart for those 2 codes. And then her diagnosis, you notice right here for process of elimination, I know that that 7th character is different, and that's what they want us to diagnose or to know the differences of. So I would get rid of B and C just because those are the same, and I know that they want us to know the difference between the 7th characters. Since this is her first visit where she just got diagnosed with that stenosis because they did that procedure in the office, I would definitely give her the D. Now, why they didn't give him or her, the physician, the modifier 26 because they did this Doppler in the office, I'll never know. They should. They could add that, you know, right? Because they're doing this special duplex of the right extremity. They did this study in the office. So, anyway, I think I could add to that question. Here's your answers and your rationale. Like I said, the number of complexities is moderate on this patient. She has a chronic problem that is exasperated. She's got more symptoms because she's on dialysis 3 days a week. They're constantly messing with her veins, pushing out blood, taking all that out, flushing it all, cleaning out all the debris and stuff that the kidneys normally do, and then putting it back in there. Because of that, she's getting hardening of all of her veins because it's all being done mechanically, and she's getting some major stenosis because of it. So definitely has a chronic problem that's exasperated. That always gets you the 214. There's the chronic care one, and then in the alphabetical index. And the 7th character is an A because it's her initial encounter for the stenosis, like I said, for sure. Yep, I hope this is helpful. I hope y'all like seeing the cases. Until we have anybody take the exam this Saturday, I don't know what's on it yet. I'm hoping it's just the same. I mean, they haven't updated any of their questions online for any of the courses. I don't imagine them rewriting an entire backlog of questions at all for this exam and not releasing any of them at all for this year, and changing the exam up so critically that it would be anything different than what we've got going in front of us historically already. Yep. 215 is when they're circling the drain. That's right. Good. I'm glad it helps. Okay, good, Shell. All right, we got more cases. So this one we've got in the SOAP format. This is an old format that I know quite well. SOAP. Love it. So we have a patient being seen to check, follow-up check to review CTAs of the aorta bilateral lower extremities for the leg pain. No distress. Blood pressure slightly elevated. Pulse is great. Non-palpable bilateral pulses. Abdomen fairly normal. The CTA of the iliac vessels and the common femoral arteries bilateral with occluded bilateral superficial femoral arteries is what they found. It was fairly normal. So it got the slight variations of normal, but everything's okay. The left is more localized than the right, which is more diffuse. That can happen. Lifestyle is limited. That means that they are not very active. It's worsening because of the leg pain. But his ankle bradyia indicates are very abnormal. That means when you check the pulses, there is something going on. And if it's not an occluded something, then something else is going on. So he's going to order an arteriogram of the bilateral extremities. So definitely going to order some more tests on this patient. Possibly do an angioplasty and stents because there's something going on there. They just haven't found it yet. They've discussed about with the patient the risk and benefits of other alternatives, and the patient's agreed to proceed. Billing information on the patient is a Medicare. They've billed previously a 214. So that's how I would attack these. And don't forget, if you do take this exam online at home, you can still do what I've been doing and underlining things like with a dry erase board marker. They work just fine. You can cross out answers and do things just like I'm doing. So we definitely would get rid of the nurse visit, right, with the dry erase board if you're taking it online. He's not circling the drain, so I doubt I'd give him a 215, right? So is he straightforward, low, or moderate? Something like that is what I would do during my exam. And then as I answer it and move on to my next question, you can definitely wipe off your screen. It goes right away. Don't have to worry about it, and then you can keep going just in case. And I have touchscreen, and these don't affect or move my screen like my finger does or draw on it. I have the touchscreen off, just the drawing on it right now. But hopefully that's helpful for anybody that's doing their exam at home and can't figure out how to draw like I am during the middle of their exam. But out of those choices, what would you pick? Our second question is if the physician was also standby during the office visit for a possible surgical procedure at the hospital, what would this auditor consider? That's interesting. Why are they asking me about an auditor? Standby services cannot be conducted while seeing other patients. Some payers don't recognize standby services, or is it A and B, or none of the B? None of these. If the physician had seen the patient as a subsequent hospital visit where he was not the admitting or attending physician, he did a consult from different groups, discharged the patient on the same day, which E&M visit would they do? Interesting. Those are the other questions. Sorry, I'll get you in view here. Knock the camera all around. Those are our 3 questions. So are we C, C, and A? Or are we D, D, and D? What would you do? I don't know. What do you think? What are you guys saying? Sorry. I heard a kid cough. I'll be right back. The NyQuil's coming out. I'll be right back. Oh, my Jamesy. Put on a mask, James. Take that steroid, that other pill, okay? That's not a allergy pill, it's a steroid. It won't make you sleepy. Good, go to bed. That pill won't on top of it. The pill is a steroid. It won't make you sleepy. Please take it. But yeah, but that's the white kind. It's not the sleepy one. It's just wearing it through. All right. All back. So we got DDB. I kind of like that scenario too. Let's see what we got. We've got DCB, guys. DCB. So our medical decision making was moderate because we had a chronic problem that was exasperated. Anytime you have, even if it's one problem that's exasperated, you are going to get that 14 every time. Now, the A and B. Love you. Good night, Bev. Did you get your laundry done? He did one shirt for you. That's it. 2 shirts actually. But he needs underwear and shorts too. So if you have any shorts or underwear that need to be washed, get them started and I'll put them in the dryer. Sorry, the kids are running off to bed and I have to make sure they got clean clothes for tomorrow. Sorry. So A and B is correct on this one. Yeah, they want you to know that standby services cannot be conducted while you're seeing other patients. They can for anesthesia, right? But for E&M visits, no. And some payers do not recognize standby services like Medicare. So both of those are true. Both of those are true. So that's why they picked C. And we had our rationale for subsequent hospital visit. And, you know, they wrote that question like, he discharged the patient on the same day. So we used the subsequent hospital visit. And, you know, one of those subsequent hospital visit ones is it does you see the patient, but you discharge them at the same time. It's got a discharge in it, and you see them, and I bet that's what they picked. They're not giving us the correct number, like to show us, but we have that. I just had some questions the other day from tutoring that were the difference between that discharge code and the subsequent visit. So it's the 9084 or something, right? I'm looking. James, please stop. Don't hurt your wife. That was $800. Wash machine, please stop. I didn't ask you to wash. Sorry, cranky man is banging stuff up. I made him wash his own laundry, and he was treating the washing machine with malice. Like, dude, don't slam the machine like that. Okay. That's just my little 12-year-old hormonal little boy. Not Travis, that's James. He is built like a football player, and he uses it to his advantage. Even though he's a video gamer, he does not leave his video games unless I force him to go do his laundry. Subsequent hospital care. It's what I'm doing over here. This one, right? Subsequent hospital care. One of them has a discharge, right? We've got discharge services with the subsequent hospital care that does the discharge and the subsequent care. But they're saying that we would do a subsequent office hospital care for the visit, even if we were doing the discharge, where he was not the admitting and the admitting physician, different group, discharged, and the patient on the same day. If the physician had been seeing the patient on a subsequent hospital visit where he wasn't the admitting and he wasn't, does that mean he wasn't the discharging physician too, just saw the patient in that visit? Woo, these questions, and I know y'all can't read them because they're blurry as all get out. But I'm questioning, did he discharge the patient and see him in the way the writing of the sentence is? Because I can sit here and audit these things all day long. Or did he just see the patient? Why don't they put a period at the end of something before they move on to something else? If this physician had seen the patient as a subsequent hospital visit, period. I think the rest of all of this is propaganda that we don't need to read. We should have just stopped at that point, and that's what they wanted us to code, and the rest of all this is propaganda. And that's how you get wrong answers, is if you don't just answer the question that they're asking. If you go on to read, it says where he was not the attending and the attending physician from another group discharged the patient. See? Yep. Another physician discharged him. So you've really got to make sure you don't go into all that propaganda. Yep. Fall into those traps. And then you start second guessing and questioning yourself and waste time. That's all they ask you to do, is if the physician had seen the patient and they told you the answer as a subsequent hospital visit. That's it. They told you the answer in their question. So yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, seems like a different doc. Standby services are not payable to physicians, and Medicare, I knew that, would not pay. The physician would use the subsequent hospital care codes. He's not the discharging physician, and he's not of the same group. Yep. Perfect. Those are all good. We can do, I think, yeah, that's crazy. Don't let that scare you. Where am I at? Over here. Where am I at? Nope. I'm not there either. It's supposed to be right here. Yeah. Right here. I'm in the wrong spot, though. I need to go over here. Here's some of the cases. I still have some that we have not completed. Over here we could do live and get the answers. So case 16 is a cough for 7 days. And a sore throat, abdominal pain, clear congestion, fever, denies respiratory complaints. Nothing looks significant. Oxygen's a little low. How old? We don't get an age. No idea. They gave them humidifier, sore throat. That's all we got. Previous billing is the 13. Is it commercial? I don't guess it really matters. Medicare. Okay. So 2022 is the year shell. So our level of service, we're not going to be a nurse visit for just a sore throat. They did have signs of respiratory distress, and they were told to follow up for that if they did have a follow-up for signs of respiratory distress if they did have it. Oh, okay. I'm just worried about their oxygen level being low. And they have a high pulse. And they're a Medicare, so they're senior. They did write them a prescription. What would y'all code this patient? Are we going for the 12 or the 13 or the 14? Sorry about going so long. I'll post the repost of this on to YouTube so you can watch what comes after. Hopefully it records. Everybody's saying C. We got C. A 13. Assume the patient develops a respiratory distress and represented in the office later on the same day with a pulse ox of 80. Also assume that the physician decided to admit the patient. If the hospital was unable to locate the admission documents for an audit, how would you code both the office visit and the hospital admit? Would you do a 9921 whatever and the 221, or would you do one of these? It's definitely going to be between the 22 and the 21. The 21 is straightforward. Our 22 is moderate. We've got sore throat. And then they become hypoxic. Y'all are saying B on that one. It's going to have to match, I think. This one, if the physician performs the 215 at this office visit the next day, he provided a hospital admission that is less than a comprehensive history, how would the service be coded per the Medicare claims guidelines? I wonder if they're both the 2-1s to go with the 213. That way they're all compliant with as far as being with the same things. We got 2 out of 3 correct. So we've got the E&M at 213. Probably should have left that one alone at 22 like you told me. Or was that correct? It was correct at the 21. I did change that to the right one. This one was the wrong one. It's supposed to be... No, I didn't do the process of elimination and make sure that we kept both 15s, huh? And it would be a 15 with something. We can't do those two together, right? I wonder. No. 2, 3. Nope. 2, 5 and 2, 1. Oh, Lord. Yep. There we go. So we've got the 213 for this one. We can look at the rationale for that. It's pretty straightforward because it is a low complexity. We would give it definitely the 213. Now in this scenario, we assume the patient developed respiratory distress, went back, and got admitted to the hospital. I did the 221 because it's straightforward and a low complexity, and I matched that with my 213 is why I thought that answer was correct. And up here, we do have that this one was going to be that. Same day service. Yep. This answer, if the physician performed a 215 in the office and the next day he had provided the hospital with less than a comprehensive a comprehensive history and a less than comprehensive physical, how would the services be provided? So the hospital would still bill the 221. And their rationale As per this Medicare claims thing, and the definitions of the level 5, the patient would only qualify for a 221 if you didn't have a comprehensive history and physical. So these are specialty practice exams for the CEMC, and I purchased all of them January 6th, hoping to get some 2006 or 2022 updated exams, questions, but all of these exams are all the same. Even if I go to my purchased items and I looked up these AAPC exams that I purchased, A, B, C, and D, they're the same. Like even if I go look up oh, I'm in the wrong thing. But even if I go look up my files from 2019 and 18 and 20 and 21, many of these exam questions have not changed at all. So let's see, if I go to my files, those are the ones I did on the 7th, but then I have the other ones from way back when. Like this one, this exam right here is from 2019, this one, and our last question is the diabetes for type 2, and then I go to my 2022 questions. I'll find it here. It's A, B, C, D, E, and F. Not that one. Many of the questions are still the same questions. Here's our favorite one about the diabetes and everything. Just if you go through and do these, they're the same questions, even answered in the same spot. Like question number 50 is the same. It was all year long for 2021 and for 2019. So it'd be nice if they updated. I know they update the ones when you do the course inside Examity, but saying that they ever update these things, they never do. They're the same freaking ones. But these cases are interesting to watch and to look at. So far, they're new and they're all cases, so that's handy, and I'm hoping that it will benefit us for the 10 questions at the end, since they're labeled cases. This one has chronic UTIs. So if we have a chronic illness that is exasperated, we know enough about these cases that we know we need to code a certain level. Of course, we have a urinalysis, chronic, dipstick, they're given antibiotic samples. So it's asking if the physician chooses to see the patient back the next day for a cath urine culture, how should it be coded just for the next day to do that cath? Would you do the 03 or this 03, the one with the 25 modifier, or the 26, or would you just do the procedure? Then we have when the nurse practitioner sees a Medicare patient in the office under incident to provision for an established problem, which of the following requirements must be met for the physician to personally bill for the nurse practitioner services? We've got billing, billing, doctor, doctor. We also have physician, physician must be in the office at the same time or must examine the patient. We've seen nurse practitioners on our own without our physician being around, right? Or must he co-sign the nurse practitioner's note? And is it every note? What do you guys think about all this? Some of these examples can get quite crazy. So for the next day visit, what would you code? Just the cath? Must co-sign? Definitely not going to be either one of those. Is it going to be the 25? Must be in the office? That doesn't always happen, that's for sure. That's funny. I know many offices that don't run have the physician there. They go out for lunch, go play golf. They're never around. They're not in the office at the same time that the services are given. That's funny. That never happens. Ever, ever, ever. Yeah, they're not liking the 25 either. You'd think, Shawnee, they want us to do a HCPCS code for the P9612. Very interesting. These cases are challenging. They are a little different. I'm hoping that the more we review them, the more we see them, we will definitely get a better handle on these. One thing I cannot express enough that will help you more than anything is if you have an example like this in your CPT book where you have an excision, and another excision, there's 3 excisions, write something simple right underneath the CPT code to prepare you for the differences so you don't have to ration out these during your exam. Write down that one simple. The next one is a spur, the next one is a lesion. That's more helpful than any boxing, bubbling, highlighting, anything. That will save you time because AAPC will pick on those 2 biopsies and then you got to figure out which one it is. This one's external and this is auditory. So that's the only difference between these. They're both external ear, but one of them is just the external. This one is external auditory. So that's the 2 differences between those 2 biopsies. But then they have 3 excisions here. And doing that will be a lot, that will just help you a whole lot during your exam for sure. I will be doing another live on Wednesday. We will have more practice exam questions. I am working on putting the anatomy photos with 100, I think I'm getting close to 150 questions just on anatomy only. It's just going to be anatomy questions, and that's it for the entire exam. And then we'll have the added bonus of adding in all my pictures from my anatomy that I added stuff to on those questions. You can get the questions and answer sheets, most definitely. We will be working on more practice exam questions for CPT and ICD10. I love doing the Mohs procedures and explaining those in integumentary. I'm seeing more and more lower scores again in the 10,000 section, so anything that we can do to make sure that we get those up is going to help out a whole bunch for those. We definitely are practicing in our chat group and working in that every day.
TikTok, can you
Oops,
please?
somebody hit TikTok, but we're working in our chat group every day to do practice exam questions too. People are sharing their notes and how they make things. An update in our, that's just today from Random Times Today. We have file shares in here, so if you are in our chat group and you want a copy of anything, all you got to do is click on it, hit the More button, and hit Save. It'll save it to your phone or device that you're using. You can also hit this I button icon at the top and go down to Media Files, and you can see the previous photos that were shared, and then you can also see any files that were shared. I'm working with someone on Thursday. I have a meeting to get somebody to work on my website to update it so that I can have a place to store all these files of photos and PDFs that y'all can download all in one location instead of it all being scattered out. Half of it on a website, half of it on Messenger, and then half on YouTube and other places. Maybe I can get my whole site just to house it all. That way you all can just go to one place and it's all there. I think that would be easier. But I want to make sure that we can get chat moved over there too. That would be a really good place to store that over there too, because I've got stuff scattered to the wind all over places. But if you need me, of course, we've got the website if you want to schedule tutoring. I also have screenshots there of how to prep your CPT book if you need it. All the repeat lives here on TikTok are posted on YouTube, and we have our Messenger chat group, and then files are on Etsy if you want page by page of whatever we've got going on in this CPT book and ICD-10s. It is different, very different if you think about it. It really is. They are very different, and I hope that, there we go. I've got a few more to go through on this E&M practice exam to finish going through these scenarios and seeing what they're doing different. This one's got 4 questions with it, but just a few more before they're done, and then I'll continue to audit them and see what I can do to think about how to get through this process of seeing all this information and then figuring out what answers they're looking for and how I can share that info with you guys to let you know exactly, like I said, how to eliminate it and get the process of elimination down. I can see and foresee that they're going to give you more than just A, B, C, and D. They'll probably do this E thing that they've been doing and then add multiple questions onto some of the questions like this. But this does count as 2 questions. So if you have 10 questions, there's only 8 more left if you did this particular question. But we've got the 41 and the 42 that are super close. It's just low code one of them just to see. We never do the low one. We never do the high one. Let's see what it would be if we did the one right above. I have no idea. I didn't read the scenario. I don't know what's going on. I'm just doing what they normally do. Got both of them wrong. So we just have to keep going and seeing if we can figure out what they did with this particular question. And I did eventually get that one correct, so they did upcode this one to a different code. This one, we don't have the two high ones. It is just a UTI. Wonder if it's the lower code. If it's not that one, then it would be the highest one. But no, it's just the lower one. But that's super low, but it is a UTI. And it probably wouldn't have been a moderate or a high complexity anyway. It was probably straightforward anyway. If I'd have even read anything here, I would have known that. But I like doing things like that. I like playing around with them, seeing if I can look at just the numbers to do the answers without even reading anything. And then if I do read them, figure out how I can help y'all get what you need out of here quickly to answer those questions. This one has 4 answers. What is the E&M for this Medicare patient? What are they being seen for? Diverticulitis and change in bowel habits. This is a consultation, right? It's written with the doctor's name and this kind of stuff. It's seen the first time because he had speciality, specifically diarrhea. Was it a consult? I wonder. It sort of sounds like it's a consult, but it's either that or the new patient. Then what level would we be? He has a chronic problem, right? That is exasperated. Don't they tell us to do the 14 each time? What modifier infinity is required? None. And what would be the diagnosis? So it's one of the 5s, right? It's probably just the 9 because we don't really use the O after the 9. I don't know. Just guessing. 1 out of 4, right? It's so funny. So we'll do the new patient. We'll downcode it. And are we doing the OO this time? 3 out of the 4, right? No, we're doing the 90. Lord help. There we go. But I'm just being lazy and not opening up my book. Would definitely open it up to do because that's an easy one to do. Diverticulitis. Super easy one to look up. But you can see that they're trying to make you think that it was a consultation code because they have all this stuff up here. And it could be a consult. Because why else would they write a letter like this? Yours truly, CC the patient. I don't understand why. Doctors don't write notes like that unless it's a consult. But it didn't say it was a consult, so you don't code it. That's all. Very interesting. Now I only have 2 more to go. I'll do that after the live. But I hope this has been helpful. I hope something in this helps anybody that's taking their exam in the next few weeks. And if you are taking it on the 15th or any time after, keep us informed as to how it goes if you can. And please message me if you need help or if I can help you in any way. Let me know, and I'll see y'all on Wednesday night. These questions are cases from the, if you are on, it's under the specialty medical coding training right there. So if you go here and you go into, where's E&M? Wrong one. you go here to training, all training courses, specialty credentials, and I'm going right here to the E&M, evaluation and management, because they said that the cases that they were going to use on the CPC exam during their live on YouTube, they said they were going to be mostly E&M. I knew to go pick this specialty by those practice exam questions to see what kind of questions they were, and that's what I did. And so if we go into mine and go to my purchased items, that's what I have. I bought the special practice ones for the evaluation and management. And those are all just cases. And since we're going to have 10 cases, I thought that would be the best thing ever to look at for this exam, since they would let me see. It's supposed to be 50 questions, but they only gave you 21 cases. But it would be nice to have 50 cases, but they trick you into each case has multiple answers, a lot of them, so they can get away with giving you other cases. But they won't even let you buy like multiple exams. You only get one practice exam, like A, B, C, D, E, and F. Well, this one just has it, and that's it. This is all you get for that specialty. Anyway, that's where I got those from. I hope they're helpful. It was the only place I could think of where we could get some cases to look at and practice. I hope so. All right, Shell, get some sleep. Say hi to your mom for me. And I will see y'all again on Wednesday. And if you have tutoring scheduled with me tomorrow, be sure and let me know on Messenger what you want me to go over during your tutoring session. I know I have a couple. So if you haven't already made those arrangements, let me know, because I'm fixing to go work those up right now. Good night, y'all.